There is a player who ruined his career due to his temper. During the second-round match at Wimbledon, Jeff Tarango received a warning for insulting the referee, and then simply left the court, with even the player's wife going up to slap the referee. In the end, he faced a ban from participation, a fine, and ultimately was expelled, completely ruining his career because of his temper. Nick Kyrgios has a signature style of swearing at the referee during matches and smashing his racket, often getting into verbal disputes with opponents and the audience. He has the talent to frequently defeat top-ranked players like Djokovic, Nadal, Tsitsipas, and Federer, but is gradually being forgotten as an unstable player who rides the roller coaster of his temper. He was a player with the most regrettable talent, but as soon as he reached his peak, he gradually faded away. That player is Marat Safin. If you act according to your nature, there may be some success, but if you do so in tennis, you will fail. He achieved good results in various tournaments and reached the world #1 ranking in November 2000. He was in fierce competition for the world #1 ranking in the early 2000s, alongside Roger Federer and Andy Roddick. And in 2005, he made a comeback to win against the almost invincible tennis king Rogers. Federer in the men's singles semifinals at the Australian Open with a score of 3-2, advancing to the finals where he defeated Leighton Hewitt 3-1, reaching the pinnacle of his tennis career. Safin versus Federer is considered one of the greatest matches in tennis history, because it is the only match where the all-time great Federer lost in his prime, while in top condition on hard courts and grass courts. Safin was even evaluated to have performance that surpassed the prime Federer when he was at his best. He had a powerful serve and forehand that were all the rage at the time, along with a skilled two-handed backhand like Hewitt. He was a versatile player with a big build who excelled at backhand and net play, showcasing a refreshing slugger style capable of long rallies. It is widely believed that if Safin, who was not only a tennis elite but also had a natural genius, had possessed the same level of diligence as Federer, his records would have been significantly different. However, Roger Federer remains one of the greatest tennis players in history, and his fame and popularity continue to this day. While Marat Safin, who had skills surpassing Federer, remains a player whose records have been halted and has faded from the memories of tennis enthusiasts. He is famously known as a racket smasher who destroys rackets during matches. In 1999, he broke an astonishing 48 rackets in just 1 year. Why can't tennis be played? According to one's temperament? The same logic probably applies to ball sports. It is a sport that requires concentration by mobilizing all senses, including sight and hearing, and using all physical strength to track a moving ball. The body's balance can collapse, and there may be no time to keep an eye on the ball until the end, causing tension in the shoulders and arms, which can lead to mistakes even in shots that were previously well executed. It is said that when one starts to get angry, the operation of muscle memory diminishes or stops. Created over decades of endless repetitive pain, it becomes a foolish action that loses even its own rhythm with muscle memory interrupted. In fact, it is said that the likelihood of a professional athlete being in a 100% condition for a game is less than 30%. It often means that the physical condition is not very good. It depends on how to overcome this and hide it from the opponent while playing. Getting angry while playing significantly lowers the chances of winning the game, making it a foolish action. What would happen if we played tennis according to our temper? In fact, there are many situations that can trigger our temper. Frequent mistakes by a partner, the mood of the day. There can be issues like unsportsmanlike behavior from the opponent, conflicting line calls, and extremely hot weather. In particular, when losing to an opponent who plays in a clearly strange manner, one can easily become agitated and lose control, leading to self-destruction. Surely everyone has had experiences of losing after hitting the ball out of frustration. Tony Nadal, who is Rafael Nadal's coach, an uncle reportedly made a special request that he would no longer coach if there were any acts of smashing rackets. I believe that the importance of cherishing the racket, which is an essential piece of equipment for tennis players, is encapsulated in this. Nadal, who has never smashed a racket, recently mentioned his retirement. I think we can glimpse Nadal's character in the expression, "I hope to be remembered as a good person." Roger Federer was also quite the macho man in the early days of his career. He has broken his racket several times. However, after the strong mental training from my mother, it has been rare to see me play according to my temper in matches, and I remain a player with good manners. What methods can we use to avoid acting on our temper? There was a related video titled, "Play a game you psychologically lose." In a psychological losing game, most of the time you can control the nature of what happens during the game. It is better to intentionally mention your own mistakes with a big "I'm sorry" and not focus on your partner's mistakes. If you are in the same club as usual, it is good to check your condition that day and think about a psychological losing game in advance. If there are fellow players who have more experience or a prettier form than you, it's better to assume they are superior and adopt a humble mindset. In fact, humble players are rare on the tennis court. Everyone thinks they are doing well. I think that if someone has a long history in the game, they have an advantage whether it's in forehand, serve, or volley. In fact, tennis is quite an individual sport. But our club members, who mainly play doubles, find it strangely difficult to be humble. When we lose a game, I tend to think it's my partner's fault. Anyway, there are many enthusiasts who have these thoughts in mind, so there's a lot of room for situations to arise where they can easily get upset. Now let's develop the habit of playing a psychological losing game from this point on. Since tennis is a sport that requires an opponent, a respectful attitude is necessary. Please serve your subscription of empathy today as well. TennisGo Story.